This video, video 11, is the first of two on research and primary sources. Once you've developed a sufficient and diverse list of secondary sources, you need to review them to gain a sense of what they say. You don't have to read all of them, but look for article abstracts or book reviews and use book indexes. Remember that the theses are generally in the introduction and conclusions, which helps you synthesize the book. The point is that you want to gain a sense of what hasn't been explored well in that subject or what has only a little work in it. You may see a sub area that you're interested in exploring further. All this may suggest a direction for your research. As noted in an earlier video, the more original research, the better. You're now set to do your primary source research. Of course, at the outset, perhaps look at the bibliographies in your secondary sources to see what primary sources they used. Are any of them available, say online? Could you explore them in more depth, perhaps, or are more focused on a narrow aspect? In any event, you'll find that a vast array of potential primary sources from any number of topics. The availability, naturally, varies according to topic and time period. The more narrow the topic, the more distant the time period, or the more remote the location, the harder it may be to find primary sources. Generally, a good researcher can find great sources on almost every subject. Now, you can find a lot more through Southeastern's library than just secondary sources. It has a number of primary sources, too. Southeastern's library, it should be noted, is an official depository of government documents. Since 1998, Southeastern's library has been a member of the U.S. government's Federal Deposit Library Program. You can, therefore, get such great sources as federal laws and regulations, census data, and any number of agency and departmental reports. There are well over 61,000 items. Moreover, since 1998, the library has included all state of Oklahoma government publications and materials. Students can simply click on the Government Documents link on the library's webpage. Now, much of this data, I got to be honest with you, is not available online, but rather kept in microfiche, CD-ROMs, and DVDs, if not in hard copy in the library's basement. It may be wise simply to ask for assistance from the Government Documents librarian. As usual, don't be shy. There's way too much to include all the great primary sources that are available through Southeastern's library, but just to give you an idea, the library has the following, just in regard to American history alone. I could go on and on here, but this is just sort of to whet your appetite. The records of the Constitutional Convention when they formed our country are there, and the letters to and from the delegates that attended that Constitutional Convention, the naval documents of the American Revolution, the records of the American territories back to the early 1800s, their reports of the American Commissioners of Indian Affairs back to the early 1800s, their diaries and journals and letters of explorers and fur traders and settlers in the far west dating back to the early 1800s, their education reports dating back to the late 1800s, their compilations of the official records of both the Union and Confederate armies and navies during the Civil War. There are all sorts of documents from the Reconstruction era. There's reports of the American Expeditionary Force in World War I and the annual reports of the Secretary of War during the war. Hearings before the President's Commission on the assassination of President John Kennedy are in the library. There's State Department correspondence that mainly focuses on early to mid-20th century. There's so much more. Many of the above are in hard copy, but the library has online access to a vast array of such information. Don't be shy about asking a reference librarian. The records of Congress, including daily debates, speeches, and so forth, are located in what's called the Congressional Record, which is a great primary source if you're doing American history, and the Congressional Record has an index as well. The Congressional Record began publication in 1873. There are three earlier publications that cover the debates of Congress from 1789 through 1783. The full text of these earlier publications are available not only through Southeastern's library, but they're on the Library of Congress's Century of Lawmaking website. The Annals of Congress, the second one, covers the first Congress through the first session of the 18th Congress, which was in 1824. The Register of Debates covers the second session of the 18th Congress through the first session of the 25th Congress in 1837. Now, the Congressional Globe covers the 23rd Congress through the 42nd Congress in 1873. Now, in addition, the website provides the full text of the first Congressional Record that covered 1873 to 1875. However, web access to the full text of the Congressional Record doesn't pick up again until 1989. The full text of the contemporary Congressional Record is available on congress.gov, which is the official congressional website, and also on GovInfo, which is the official government printing office website. On congress.gov, you can browse the record or do a search back to the 104th Congress in 95-96. On the GPO website, you can do searches back to the 104th Congress. The Congressional Record Index is also available on GovInfo back to 1983. The GPO website also provides easy access to the history of bills and resolution portion of the Congressional Record Index. The Congressional Record is available as an app for iPads and iPhones, which is available through the iTunes Store, which has content that goes only back to 1995. The documents are delivered via searchable PDF files that can be emailed or saved. Newspapers from the time period of the subject you're researching are great primary sources, giving students real-time reporting on events of the day and helping place events in correct chronological order. They often include things like editorials. There are numerous newspapers and primary source articles available online and through Southeastern's library. Probably the most notable is the New York Times, which is often referred to as a newspaper of record. The newspaper has an archives online which dates from 1851 through 1980, although outside of Southeastern's library you'll probably need a subscription for the full content. The library, however, also has hard copy indexes and the full text scanned newspapers in microfiche. Search your topic in the indexes and it will tell you the date, page, and column that the article you're looking for is located. You can then read the actual newspaper, which frankly is more interesting than the copied stories online. In any event, the reference librarian, once again, can assist you. Numerous other national papers have indexes and online archives. For the study of American history, every president has published public papers, which includes the records of every speech, report, or other action. You can get these through Southeastern's library, which, by the way, also has the papers of prominent but non-presidential leaders such as Alexander Hamilton, John C. Calhoun, and Henry Clay. Students can find these papers online through the Library of Congress, but an easier to research method is the website of the American Presidency Project, which is operated by the University of California, Santa Barbara, and includes such things as approval ratings and party platforms. This concludes the first of 2 videos on researching in primary source documents.